Greetings and welcome to the first episode of 8-Minute Methodism. My name's Dr. Jonathan Mastersmith, or Dr. J as a group of senior citizens named me several years back. They did this because my name's 27 letters long and has 5 capital letters. I thought that'd be easier. I'm a United Methodist certified lay minister and professor, and I teach all sorts of things in different places. I live in District 12 of the Hunger Games. I serve in Cat Square, North Carolina, and live with my wife, also United Methodist, with 3 dogs and a cat that found us. And I have a passion for Charlotte Football Club. My goal with these videos is to provide resources for learning about Methodism, particularly United Methodism, its structures, policies, and potentials for spreading hope around the world. I named my channel 8-Minute Methodism to give myself some parameters for how much I would record and edit. And 8 minutes feels like a digestible in one sitting for whoever's watching this. I know it won't always be 8 minutes. Some will be shorter, some will be longer, but I want to keep it around that as my goal. My hope is that I'm entertaining and educational as I attempt to communicate the beauty and chaos that is the United Methodist tradition. And speaking of chaos, we have this thing coming up called the General Conference, and I thought we'd get started with that as I start my channel. If you're United Methodist, you may have heard of the General Conference, which was supposed to happen in 2020, and it was rescheduled not once, not twice, but 3 times, and is finally, fingers crossed, coming to Charlotte, North Carolina at the end of April 2024. Still not sure what it is and why it matters for local churches? Well, that's why you have me. Let's get started. The Constitution of the United Methodist Church, and yes, we do have a constitution, and it's similar to the United States Constitution or any other constitution in that it has things like a preamble, divisions, sections, and paragraphs. There's also an amendment process, all of that sort of thing. We even set up divisions of powers, but instead of managing a country, it manages the organization of the United Methodist Church and how it works. The Constitution is found in the Book of Discipline, and it's a book that houses our historical, doctrinal, and structural documents. We generally produce a new discipline every 4 years after General Conference because we generally have them once every 4 years. But you might notice that the one that's on the screen is from 2016. We have not been able to have a regularly scheduled General Conference due to the world being busy with a pandemic, economic crisis, wars, civil unrest, and a lot of other things. We did have a special called one in 2019 that changed some of the parts of our Book of Discipline. However, we didn't want to print a new one in 2019 because 2020 was coming up the next year, and we would just add those things that remained from the 2019 General Conference to the 2020 discipline, except the 2020 moved to 2021, and then 2022, and now 2024. So hopefully at the end of 2024's General Conference, we'll have the material we need to create a book of discipline labeled as 2024. Now, back to the General Conference. We're going to look at what our Constitution says about the General Conference and what it is. I'll be reading from Division 2, Organization, Section 1, Conferences, Paragraph 8, Article 1. It reads, "There shall be a General Conference for the entire church, with such powers, duties, and privileges are hereinafter set forth." Then we jump to paragraph 13. "The General Conference shall be composed of not less than 600, no more than 1,000 delegates, 1/2 of whom shall be clergy and 1/2 lay members, to be elected by the annual conference." That's getting us somewhere. General Conference is a gathering of folks, equal parts clergy and laity from the annual conferences. We're very clear that they are elected and that the election process shall be fair and open in those annual conferences. So they are elected delegates that are sent by their annual conferences to the General Conference every 4 years, or if there's a special called one, and those come up like 2019 was a special one. Later on, we're going to learn that General Conference also sets the ratios for how many delegates come from each annual conference. And it's based on something like a population count of number of clergy and then number of professing church members. And I don't have that full equation, and I don't really need to know it. I just know that it's something like population-based representation as part of that. Now, on to some other things. Paragraph 14, "The General Conference shall meet once in 4 years at such time and in such places as shall be determined by the General Conference or by its duly authorized committees." And like I said, we have had special called sessions of the General Conference, and they have the same authority and power as the General Conference, and they can be called by a few different groups. First being the Council of Bishops. The Council of Bishops are an executive branch of the United Methodist Church, They are sort of the overseers of each annual conferences, having certain rights and powers, as well as certain expectations and duties to the whole church. The General Conference itself can also call a special General Conference in order to do this as well. When they do meet, they meet only for particular reasons, not for the whole overall goals of doing different things that we'll explore in a different video. So what does all this tell us? We know that the United Methodist General Conference is a body of people, clergy and laity, elected by their annual conference to serve the denomination. Essentially, they're our Congress. The United Methodist Church has a unicameral system. That means we have one chamber of our Congress versus a bicameral system like the United States Congress has, where there's the House of Representatives and the Senate. And while we have two groups that are elected, they are in the same voting group, have equal power, and are based on the same math to have them elected as part of that, the laity and the clergy. The General Conference makes several decisions for the denomination. However, the General Conference and the Constitution separates out the powers, though that the General Conference has some authority, but the jurisdictional, central, annual, and charge conferences, because we're just a collection of conferences, have different authorities and powers within their own realms in order to be able to do the things contextually that make sense for them. And yes, we call all the levels of our denomination conferences, down to the church or charge conference, the district conference, the annual conference, jurisdictional conference in the United States, central conference outside the United States, and then general conference. Of course, general being the whole church and the others being divided by geography and other certain parameters. So there you have it. Our general conference is our elected body that makes decisions for the denomination, but only some of those decisions. In my next video, I'm going to explore the particular responsibilities of the General Conference and what that means for us. Until then, if you like this video, give me a like, a subscribe, share it with other people. I'm just getting started. I really want to educate people and be somewhat entertaining as we explore the realities of the United Methodist Church. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'll put all of my social tags down in the description so that you can find me. I post a lot of Methodist stuff. I'm a big nerd about it, so I really enjoy exploring that, and I hope you do too. So until next time, onward to perfection, y'all.